All right, your airfield, where's 3-3 is active right now.
These are busy times for America's nuclear force.
You do have a targeting pod, you are connect, you're clean exterior, you got forward center and aft rack.
While subs and siloed missiles are secretive, Mammoth 8-engine B-52s are meant to be visible.
It's crew ready.
Okay.
제국주의 강도적인.
As North Korea's threats grow bigger and more frequent, these bombers, nearly a half-century old and relics of the Cold War, have been refurbished and are increasingly flying 33 hours round trip from the U.S. to the Korean Peninsula, a knock at Pyongyang's front door.
What is the nuclear capability of an aircraft like this?
So in this case, for the B-52, we can carry up to 20 nuclear-capable missiles.
Colonel Kurt Shingela says the B-52 doesn't need to be stealthy when it reaches around the world.
We can declare that we're flying it, which has its own kind of deterrence message, right? If you look at someone and say, I'm going to punch you and there's nothing you can do about it, and then you swing, there's a psychological impact to that.
The bombers have now deployed to the region, to Guam, putting them even closer if needed. Though they still practice a rapid nuclear response, these are not like the worst days of the Cold War. Nuclear missiles aren't routinely kept on planes, but the air crews, many of whom are in their 20s, are vigilant over the return of a nuclear threat and practice for it. As gargantuan as the B-52 seems, inside the crew compartment is another story.
All right, here we have the offensive compartment. It's the only place where you can fully stand.
On transcontinental missions, 8 crew stuff into this tiny space.
All right. So as we climb up, here is the pilot compartment area and the defensive compartment area as well.
Jeez, it's tight.
It is tight.
This is a huge plane. Why is there only this much space for people?
Right, so when the B-52 was designed, not much thought was given to crew comfort. They wanted to load as many weapons as they could, so we sacrificed crew space and crew comfort for weapon loadout.
These are your eyes outside the jet, so you can see actually what you're targeting at.
In the windowless weapons zone, it can be surreal to see what would be the last step before a nuclear attack.
So this is the switch that unlocks the weapons. To actually pickle off the weapon is this manual launch button. There's 2 modes, there's a manual and an auto, but for the most part we use the manual launch to launch the weapon.
And Captain Layla Grenzer has pressed it in practice runs for nuclear, and most recently over Iraq and Syria with conventional bombs.
What's that like?
It's pretty exciting, honestly, when you get to see the big explosion go boom.
Up one level, the pilots, in the event of a nuclear war, they and everyone on board must consent to drop a weapon.
It's a little bit sobering at times when you start thinking about some of the things that you could be asked to go do. We just hope that our deterrence is enough to prevent any kind of nuclear war in that capacity.
This makes 23 missiles launched in 16 tests.
North Korea is working on an advanced version of this intercontinental ballistic missile.
North Korea certainly poses the greatest threat.
But the North Korea threat has given new nuclear life to the aging B-52, still the largest the U.S. has when it comes to dropping bombs. They go through the steps daily, loading weapons and checking mock-ups of nuclear cruise missiles. Soon they'll be off toward the Korean Peninsula again, and they want it known. A clear strategy of nuclear readiness that's been ramping up over the past few years. David Common, CBC News at Barksdale Air Force Base in Louisiana.